All right, well, to get started, let's open up my Salesforce.com instance. And in this case, I've got a developer instance. You can create your own developer instance for free if you go to www.developerforce.com. And there you can set up any number of developer instances as long as you tie it to an email address, and then you can build and do some things for yourself just to practice and get better using the Salesforce.com platform. Okay, so what we'll do is I've got a scenario here. Here's our standard Salesforce interface. And Salesforce comes with a series of standard tables, which they call objects. And in these objects, you can store any set of data that you choose. The standard objects that they have are accessible by going to your name up top, clicking on that, and then clicking on Setup. And then you can come down where it says Customize. And the standard tables you can access are things such as activities, campaigns, leads, accounts, contacts, opportunities, quotes, forecasts, etc. Accounts and contacts, leads, opportunities are obviously the most commonly used ones. But these are the standard tables that you can access, and here's the fields that are associated with those. You can create custom fields as well. But in many cases, our Salesforce instance may require us to create a whole other set of data that is not something that's standard that comes out of the box. For example, suppose I've created a few custom ones here. For example, instead of contacts, I created a special table called authors, where you can capture people that posting and writing articles. For example, let's click on one, open it up. It's a whole different subset of data. Mr. Bob Newhart, yada yada. And then I created another custom table called articles, and these are articles that this person can submit under their name, and therefore, we've got another set of data related to the authors. And that way we can capture additional data that we need to outside the standard tables. Now, let's go through a scenario here. Let's pretend that we are a company that does servicing for large equipment for, say, manufacturers or something like that. They've got very special equipment that only our company can come and fix for them. And what we want to do as a company is we want to capture and keep track of the service jobs that we do for them in servicing their equipment. So one thing I want to do, let's pretend that we have one of our clients here, Edge Communications, and I want to capture a table of data that holds information regarding the jobs that we've done for them. What we're going to do is we're actually going to create a table, and we're going to call it jobs. So let's come up here to my name, click on Setup. Now I have the ability to create a new table by going to Create, on Object. And remember, Object is the name that Salesforce uses for a table. You can see here's all the custom ones that currently exist. What I can do is I can click New Custom Object. And now I'm going to give this new table a name. And in this case, we're going to call this table Job. We'll give it a plural name of jobs, plural name jobs. It defines that object name for us. If I want to give it a description, this is where we'll house job information. And then you have a few options here. Open the standard Salesforce.com help and training window. Who wants to? That's usually standard. If we want to change what the standard name of is, every table has to have a name for every record. A lot of times, unless you want to give every specific record a name when you create it, usually what I will do is I'll set it up so the job name will actually be an auto number. And then I'll give it a parameter like job 0000. Then when I see it in the database, this will be my clickable name that I'll see in reports and things like this, and I'll give it a starting number of 1. And then as I create jobs, it'll show them, job 1, job 2, job 3, etc., etc. In this case, I want to make it available for reporting. Yes. Activities, not necessarily, but if I want to, I can click into other options, and these provide different related lists to that custom object when it's created. If you need to develop it first before you deploy it, for anybody to have access, you can click on the In Development button. But in this case, I'm the only one in the system, so I'll go ahead and deploy it as I'm building it. If there's notes and attachments that we want to include as a related list as well, we can click here to include that on the standard page layout. Additionally, if I want to build a tab for it, I can do it at any time, but if I want to, right after I save this, go ahead and open up the tab wizard so I can create a tab. I'll click that. In this case, let's go ahead and do that. And then I'll click Save. Now what it did is it opened up the tab wizard. It says, okay, let's create a tab. Now tabs are these little options up above where you have the ability to keep on your interface, just a quick jump to the actual table itself. In this case, let's create a tab, call it Job. We'll choose a style for it. And let's use this handsaw as a good example for the job. That means working, I guess. And then we'll click Next. And then right here we can add this particular tab to people's standard profile. So when they log in, I can force them to have it up here, make it optional, hide it. In this case, we'll just default it on so everyone sees it. If they want to remove it from their page layout, they can. If we do hidden or default off, they won't be able to see it unless they add it if it's hidden. Actually, if it's hidden, they won't see it at all. If it's default off, it just won't be here, but they can choose it by clicking the plus sign. So we'll just do default on for now. We'll click Next. Yes, let's go ahead and include the tab for all of those apps. We'll hit Save. And now we'll see over here, we've even got, of course I've got a whole slew of them up here. We've got a new tab that's called Jobs. So up above, I can go over and see that. And now what we want to do is we want to add some fields to this table called Jobs. Now, since this table Jobs is actually a related list to accounts, what we want to do first is probably make our lookup to the account first as a field. So what I need to do is I need to come down. We'll actually click on Custom Fields and Relationships, and we'll click New. Then what we want to do is we want to click a master detail relationship. Now the difference between a lookup relationship and a master detail relationship is a lookup relationship simply looks up a related record from another table and allows me to append that to my job record. The master detail is that this child is a specific child of that, meaning you can't have a job without a corresponding account, and that's exactly what we want. So we don't want anybody having a job that they can bill hours against and not having any sort of corresponding parent record. In this case, we'll choose a master detail relationship, click Next, and we'll say this is related to accounts. Click Next, and we'll just call it account, that's fine. Next. And then based on whether I want it to be visible or read-only to people, in this case we'll just leave everything visible. Next. Next, because we want that to be included on the standard job layout that's automatically created for that custom object. Next. And then we'll hit Save. These are the, whether we want that related list to exist on different account page layouts. And yeah, we want it to be there. And I can give it a different name if I choose to. And then we'll click Save. Now we'll see for this new custom table, I've also created a new field. And that new field is now called Account. So once this page is done loading, we can come down here. We can see the standard fields that come with every object that you create, and we'll see the new field that we created. Well, additional fields we want to create is we want to create a pick list of what type of job they're doing. So let's click New, come down, click on Pick List. Call this Type. And this will help us define what type of job this is. So if we're going to go and we're going to do work, for a manufacturer, we can do, this is an install job. They purchased equipment, they need help installing it. Suppose it's a repair job, they have a job, but they've got equipment that needs repairing. Or suppose they've just asked you to come in and analyze their particular setup or the system that they've got. So we'll click Next. Next again, and these defaults are usually fine unless you've got specific sharing. rules that you want to set up. And then actually we'll click Save and New. So we'll save this field and we'll create a new one. Another new one we want to call is Date. Now over here in the types of fields that we can add, let's come down and we'll click on Date. You can choose date time if we want to be as specific as, hey, it wasn't just done this date, but it was done at this time as well. In this case, we'll just do date. Click Next. We'll put in, let's put job date maybe. And then we're gonna enforce that we always require a value in this, so that you can't save it without determining what date the work was done. Click Next, Next, and then Save and New. Let's add another field. We'll call this Hours. In this case, this is just going to be a standard number field. So we want to put in how many hours we worked on this particular job. So we'll call this Hours. And put it in what decimals. You can do up to half hours if you choose. We'll always require a value in this field as well. Next, Next, and then let's create another field, Save and New. And this time what we want to create is a formula that will calculate the revenue for us. Now on the account table, I have a field that I believe is called, actually let's go look at it so we can see. On the account record, I have a field. This field is called, I can't remember what it's called, so let's go look at it. Hourly rate. So this field right here will determine, based on the contract we have with the account, the hourly rate. So as long as that's populated, I can run a formula off of that and determine, you know, I guess we'll just call it the revenue for the job. Revenue. So we'll just do revenue. We'll come down here. We want this to look like a currency field. Next. Now what I want to do is I want to insert a field from the account. We want that to be hourly rate. And then we'll multiply that by the hours field that exists on the job. And then we'll check our syntax, make sure we did it right. It says everything's fine there, so we'll go and we'll click Next. Now for every job, it'll calculate that amount for us. Now let's hit Save. Okay, so now I've got some fields built on this new table that I created, this new object. My object is called Jobs. Here's the different fields that I have, and I've included this on the related list on all the accounts. So if I now go to Accounts, I will be able to see my new table. Let's go to Edge Communications. Once that opens, I'll come in and I can see that there's a related list called Jobs, and I can start logging data against this particular table. That same related list is seen down below. So let's click on New Job and let's see if our table works the way we want it to. In this case, Edge Communications, the account. Let's pretend that this is a repair job that we did today, and we put in 2 hours. Now what we've got is, based on the hourly rate from the account, which I believe is $300. Let's go take a look. Pretend the hourly rate for Edge Communications we set at $300, which it is. So now our job should calculate out, yep, this job costs $600 to do. That's what we should bill for. It was a repair job. Obviously, we can include as many custom fields that we need to, up to 200 fields, I believe, depending on your edition. Enterprise, I'm pretty sure, is up to 200 fields. So at that point, you can add quite a few fields to this table, and this custom table now will serve as a place that we're going to store information. Now, one thing you need to keep in mind with your custom object is how you want to report on it. Usually, Salesforce will create a standard report type that you can access for every new custom object. Let's click on Reports right here and take a look. So if we click on Reports, And we come down here to, actually let's click on New Report. Then we look at other reports. I should be able to find something called Jobs. Accounts with Jobs. So I created a custom table, and it automatically created a report type for me with its parent object. So now I can run a report on accounts with jobs already based on the fields I have there and based on my custom object and its parent object. So if we click on Create, we can create a quick report with this new custom table we created and the one record that we have. So if we go to All Accounts, Create a Date, we'll just say All Time. We should pull in all these accounts, and apparently it's pulling all accounts whether they have a job or not. So we can come down here and see our job fields that are related to that. And I don't see it. And if that's the case, what we want to do is we want to go to our account report types. So click on my name again, go to Setup, go to Create, Report Types, and then from here we can create a report type specific to the data we need. So if I click New Custom Report Type, I can say Accounts. Actually, let's exclude accounts altogether and just create it just for jobs alone. We'll just call this Jobs. So it's only going to include job data. So this report type is for job data only. Storing a category, we'll call it just Other for now. And we'll say it's deployed so people can access it. Click Next. And then here's where we can choose any children object to the jobs. And in this case, we want it to only include the jobs table. So we'll click Save. Now if we go back to reports, we can find a report type designed only to capture the job data. There. Now if we click Create, we should only have the one record that we pulled in, assuming our parameters are correct. And we got the job ID, and that's the one, the date, the hours, the job name, which is going to be, it's that ID that we created there. You see it. Revenue, say type. Let's include the account just so we see the account name as well. Now, if we want to, we can summarize this and just show me all the jobs per account. So we're going to summarize this data by account name. And then we can start adding up how many hours of work did we do, what were the date ranges, what's the total revenue for this account, the jobs that we've done, etc. So if we run that report, obviously with one record we're going to get one. We can have as many as we want, and then you can report on that custom object. Now one thing that's helpful is when you're building objects and you're building custom tables, and you want to compare those to standard tables and see this, the overall data infrastructure your database that you're creating. You can click on your name right here, go to Setup, and there's an option within the standard setup page called Schema Builder. If we click on Schema Builder here, it'll open up an area where we can view our table structure that we have in our Salesforce instance, both standard and custom tables. Now in this case, we have some stuff that's set up. We have Account, which is a standard table, Opportunity, which is a standard table, and we have Contact as a standard table. And these standard tables here, we have one custom table that's been built here, Point of Contact, which is not the one we've been working on. But right here we can see that this custom one exists. And then if we want, we can even include other custom ones that I have, for example, Client, which is a junction table between the account and the Point of Contact table. Now, neither of these are necessarily anything that we're looking at, so we can get rid of those. So Client, let's get rid of Contact, let's get rid of Opportunity and Point of Contact. But let's pull in our job table. There we go. So we can now see we have a one-to-many relationship from account to job, and here's the fields that we can see. If we zoom in, we can see all the fields we've created for that particular table. and its corresponding relationship to the account table and how that's related, which is by its ID. So, and also we can see the applying that it's a master detail to that account. There you have it. So that's your data structure for that new custom table, and that's how you build them. Now you can build any tables that you want, pretty much so long as the data you're capturing can be tied back to any of those data custom types when creating a custom table. So what I'll do now is let's see if there's any questions that have been posted regarding custom tables. And if you have any questions now, please put them in the questions section on your GoToMeeting webinar interface, and I can respond to you right away if you have any questions. We'll give that a couple minutes. In the meantime, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's pertinent and relevant. One thing I do suggest is if you can create a developer environment by going to developerforce.com. I suggest you do it because by so doing, you can practice, play around, get a feel for how the interface works, how to develop in Salesforce.com, and become quite a bit more proficient, whether you're an admin or developer. Salesforce is providing an interface that makes it really quite easy to build some pretty simple applications that can be used in many different circumstances, plus the reporting capability for all of those. So I suggest you look into that whenever you have a chance. I don't see any questions being posted, so if nobody has any other questions, I guess that we can probably end the webinar.